Like the name
Really I know, I did not do well.
Hey, dude, we gotta stop meeting like this.
We always hung out before. It'd be a bigger bust if we suddenly stopped. I agree.
Yeah. By the way, your brother's here, man. That's why I have a door.
Yeah, Marco, I love you and all, but the fact that you don't have a door just grates in my nerves! The episode opens with Marco walking to Jake's house, where we have our first run-in with Jake's brother Tom, played by Joshua Peace. In Jake's room, the Animorphs try to mess with Elfangor's disk, but considering it has no central hole, and that Jake's computer uses what appears to be some kind of bastard child of Windows 386 and the Apple II OS, it's no surprise that the computer can't read it.
Worked on Independence Day.
Yeah, but they had Will Smith.
That's it! We'll defeat the Yeerks by punching them and declaring, "Welcome to Earth." Marco and Jake play hoops as the rest of the group leave. They try to get Tom in the action, but Tom declares basketball is stupid, and that he's been spending his time with a new community group called The Sharing. After Tom leaves, Marco suggests that Tom might be a controller, which steams Jake up enough that he accuses Marco's father of possibly being one as well. However, both of them seem to be missing the obvious question. Why does this house have 2 front doors? What house has 2 front doors? Back home, Marco finds his father, who ditched a job interview to watch Goosebumps. That's not a joke, that's actually what he's watching. Marco's dad says he skipped it to put some flowers on Marco's mother's grave, and we get a close-up of a picture of Marco, Marco's dad, and some mysterious lady, because that's clearly not the actress who will play Marco's mother later in the series. Tobias walks Rachel home, and I guess this is the best time to talk about Tobias' actor Christopher Ralph, since we're going to be seeing so little of him after this episode that he's practically a guest star for the rest of the series. Ralph's Tobias is very different from the book counterpart, more restrained and quiet. But while it might not be the same character, it's still a pretty good one, and Ralph does a great job in it. It's the little things, like how he holds his shoulders, or how his voice might suddenly snap. The book's Tobias took the war against the Yeerks as a way to finally vent the frustrations he's been building up from life shitting on him all the time. But look at TV Tobias. I doubt anyone's dunking his head in the toilet. He's so detached from his surroundings, I doubt any high school bully would even notice him. This conflict with the Yeerks has forced him to reattach himself to the world, to this conflict, and to this group of strangers he shares this conflict with, and that makes him uncomfortable. Suffice it to say, while Tobias might not be my favorite book character, TV Tobias is my favorite television character, and Christopher Ralph is great in the role. Ralph has kept himself busy in small roles throughout the years, and I'd love to see him again as a major part. At school, Marco meets up with Jake in the science lab, and the two make up just in time to overhear Chapman talking to another controller in the body of a student.
We know they're using human morphs, approximately the same age as my host body.
Just find them.
Sorry, I slip into ventriloquism sometimes. Jake and Marco morph lizards and follow Chapman around the school until he enters a janitor's closet, which is lit by glow sticks apparently. And there we find Tom, having just finished assembling the entrance to the Yeerk Pool. Tom and Chapman share some exposition on how Yeerks need drone arrays every 3 days, and this is all a much better way to learn these things than by Elfangor pumping information into Tobias' head that's never mentioned again after the first book. That night, the Animorphs make their way to the more exotic section of Cassie's reserve to acquire some firepower. Jake gets a white Bengal tiger, Rachel gets a lion, Marco gets nothing, Tobias gets nothing, Cassie gets nothing. Alright, we all have firepower? Good, now let's break into an alien base.
Hey, Jake, don't take this the wrong way, but, you think you should leave Elfangor's disc in your room? You're right, but I already thought of that. From now on, it goes where I go.
Oh, God. So the Animorphs reach the school, where a bunch of people walk single file down the halls. You might think these people, wandering around all soulless-like, are acting a bit odd. You've never been to a parent-teacher conference. The Animorphs pose as controllers and enter the Yeerk Pool. The Yeerk Pool. Look, I know the Yeerk Pool, as described in the books, is beyond the scope of the series, but this is supposed to be the central base of the entire Yeerk invasion. This thing is tiny, and bland, and poorly lit, and understaffed, and powered by the everlasting Gobstopper, and made from discarded Legend of the Hidden Temple sets, and it's just the pool. This isn't a Yeerk Pool, this is a Yeerk gas station. Controllers line up to fill her up, and the freed hosts are put into a prison cell guarded by the one Hork-Bajir. Despite how underwhelming the pool is, there's a small detail in these scenes, so small I didn't catch it until my 8th or so viewing, that I love. So much so that it alone bumped this episode up a score, regardless of if it was intentional or not. Okay, let's rewind to the scene with Marco in school. The shot opens with Marco descending some stairs, preceded by 2 students talking. Note the Asian girl on the right with her white t-shirt with the red design, black pants, and white shoes. She's only on screen for 5 seconds. Now, more than 10 minutes later and in the episode's climax, the same girl shows up, revealing herself to be a controller. I love this! Why? Because it demonstrates one of the strengths a television or film adaptation of Animorphs has over the books. The books, which are first person, can only present as much information as the narrator deems important enough to share, and any background details are left to the readers to fill in. For example, the mall in the book series is very nondescript. All you know about it is that it's multi-storied and you know some of the stores that are in it. Chances are good that when imagining this mall, you visualized it as a mall you've actually been to and are familiar with. I certainly did. However, in a visual medium, the creators are in control of these details that the books leave to the readers, and this allows for themes and ideas to be expressed in small background details, like this random extra whom we learn is a controller. This episode's main theme is the realization that the Animorphs cannot trust anyone else, for any one of them, even a close family member, may have a Yeerk in their head. While the central piece of this episode is Jake learning his brother is a controller, I think learning that this random girl is a controller has scarier implications. Think about it. Marco walked within a couple of feet of his enemy, and hadn't the slightest clue of it. Chapman, Tom, these are important figures in the lives of these characters who happen to be controllers. But they know that now, and they know what to avoid telling them and avoid doing around them. But imagine walking down the hall, patting yourself on the back for having dodged Chapman again, to suddenly be confronted by a girl you barely know, whom you've had maybe one class with, and you never hang out with. You probably don't even know her name. In her hand is a laser gun. Maybe you said something you shouldn't have within earshot of her. Maybe you passed a note that she got a glance of. You don't know, because you didn't know she was a controller, and didn't take note whenever she was around. She fires the gun. It's set on stun. You wake up with a Yeerk inside your head, no longer in control of your body, all of your secrets now in the hands of your enemy. Look, maybe this wasn't by design. Maybe they were filming the school and Yeerk Pool scenes on the same day, needed another extra, so they brought this girl back. Behind-the-scenes reasons are besides the point. What really matters is that this unknowing brush with an enemy goes a long way in presenting the Yeerks as a viable threat.
Get in line.
We report directly to Visser 3. Get out of our way.
And that goes a long way in presenting the Yeerks as total morons. Cassie gets swept up in the line of controllers and manages to pose as one thanks to some dumb guards and a handy stack of pebbles to play the role of a Yeerk exiting her ear. Man, the Yeerk Pool has a really shitty janitorial staff. The Animorphs decide it's time to start busting heads, so Marco frees the prisoners thanks to this guy's lack of peripheral vision, and Jake and Rachel morph for battle. Welcome to Earth! The Yeerks start closing the security doors, and the Animorphs are the only ones to escape, which pisses off Visitor 3. Oh, did I mention Visitor 3 was there doing jack shit? And he takes it out on Chapman. Considering Chapman will be just fine the next time we see him, I guess the punishment was 30 lashes with a wet noodle. Oh, Visitor 3, stop! Ow! Visitor 3, you're hurting! Ow! The Animorphs reach the streets and try to collect their thoughts, but Tobias seems to have gone missing. Post-episode follow-up. This episode is the first from our good friend, His Highness Ron Oliver. And what an episode to get dumped on your lap first. No, Ron, you don't get the first 2 episodes which slowly establish the threat of the Yeerks with little special effects. You get the info dump episode with secret lairs and tigers and lions and shit. Overall, this episode has a similar structure to the last one, the first 2/3 being the character stuff and capped with a silly action scene. But both are watered down. The character stuff suffers when Jake's reaction to learning Tom as a controller is to go, "Grr, I'll get those Yeerks." He really doesn't sell the emotional impact it should have on him. The episode's dick around the Yeerk Pool finale isn't nearly as ridiculous as the end of My Name is Jake Part 2, but still has a lot of the same problems, like controllers with vision trouble. Since I've been mentioning them in my past reviews, the soundtrack has traded in the electric guitars for a few sweeter piano pieces that sound like something from an after-school special. All these factors even out to an okay and inoffensive affair, which is still less than the plot of this episode required. There are promising ideas here, but they never really flesh out the way they should. I give The Underground a 6 out of 10.
This looks tricky. I'll give you a boost. Why do I have to go first? Because you're small. I can get you up there. Or you're the leader. Why don't you go first? Okay, you boost me. Man, that's barbed wire, baboso.
You guys almost finished.
My bad, dude.